Now in prime time, from the Bay Area's local news station, you're watching KRON 4 News at 9.
My heart goes out to the victims of this incident. And I'm grateful for the police officers that responded. And I am so sorry about the loss of Officer Talley. And again, we will be here working night and day.
Boulder's police chief there fighting back tears during a press conference a short time ago. Police say a shooting at a Boulder, Colorado supermarket killed 10 people today, including a police officer. Tonight, they say the threat is over. A suspect is in custody. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for being with us on KRON 4 News at 9 o'clock. I'm Grant Lotus.
And I'm Vicki Liviakis. The officer who was killed was 51-year-old Eric Talley. He had been with Boulder Police ever since 2010. A procession was held tonight in his honor. Several police departments and first responders joined together to show their support for the fallen officer in this difficult time. We want to get the latest now on this investigation now from Boulder, Colorado. Joining us now live from the scene is Lori Jane Gliha. What can you tell us, Lori Jane?
Yeah, as you said, 10 fatalities. We don't know much about most of the victims involved in this, but again, one of them was 51-year-old Boulder police officer Eric Talley. He had been on the force since 2010, and we know that he was the first officer on the scene when the shooting started around 2:30 this afternoon. The shooter, as you said, is in custody. We also know that that person was injured during the course of all of this. I want to show you what's going on right now. There were a big, heavy emergency presence earlier today. There are still investigators here on the scene, although it's dwindled quite a bit. We did see officers inside the front of the King Soopers grocery store earlier, a few minutes ago, taking pictures inside the grocery store. The police chief said this shooter had a rifle. Witnesses described it as an AR-15 style rifle when he started shooting in the parking lot. We weren't able to get much of a motive, or any motive at all for that matter, or a positive identification on the shooter, but we do know earlier in the day they hauled away a man with no shirt and no pants in handcuffs about an hour and 15 minutes after the shooting. Now, the police department would not confirm that that suspect was the shooter, but that man clearly was injured and had a bloody leg. And again, they did say the person of interest in this was injured in this. So police not answering a lot of questions this evening, but they did say that they're going to have a press conference tomorrow morning where hopefully we'll get a lot of these questions answered.
All right, Lori Jane Gliha live for us tonight in Boulder. Appreciate that live report, and we'll be checking back in with you tomorrow for sure.
Thank you, Lori Jane. Well, nearly a week after a series of deadly shootings took place in Atlanta, demonstrators nationwide took to the streets over the weekend to denounce hate towards Asian Americans. People gathered in the city of New York, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, and in cities across the Bay Area, including here in San Francisco. And this morning, elected officials, including members of the Asian American community, denounced the recent violence.
So many in our community are fearful, we are angry, and we need to take action. Thoughts and prayers are not enough. This has to be an inflection point.
And the only way we stamp out hate as a community is to come together, and not just as an Asian American community, but as an LGBT community, as an African American community, as a Latino community, as a women's community, all our communities coming together to say that this type of behavior, this type of hate, this type of violence, these types of murders are 1,000% completely unacceptable.
Meanwhile, law enforcement is working diligently to try to bring justice to the families affected by the violence.
Arrests have been made in most of the reported crimes in the Bay Area, but as KRON 4's Michelle Kingston reports for us, police are still looking to find the person responsible for one attack in Daly City. And we do want to warn you, some viewers may find the video disturbing.
We will pursue you and we will arrest you.
Attacks like these have been happening across the Bay Area all year. Asian Americans hit, punched, robbed, and assaulted, some even dying from their injuries.
It sends this message that you don't belong, you're less than, and nobody should have to live with that.
At the end of January, an 84-year-old man died after being pushed to the pavement in San Francisco. The man responsible arrested and charged with murder. Also caught on camera, the attack of a 91-year-old man in Oakland's Chinatown. Yahya Muslim was arrested for hurting this man, as well as 2 others. And in February, a woman spit on a man's face in Mountain View and used an ethnic slur. She was arrested. And 2 men in San Francisco were thrown to the ground, their attackers handcuffed.
Too many people have been beat, have been killed.
The attacks bringing people together to show support for the Asian community.
We're here to say Grandma should not be defending herself with a stick.
In March, Tiante Bailey was arrested and charged for the death of Park Ho, a 75-year-old Asian man who was out on his morning walk around Lake Merritt. Ho fell to the pavement after being hit by Bailey and died from his injuries. Just 3 days later, Danny Yu Chang of Vallejo was walking during his lunch break in San Francisco on his first day back to the office after working remotely during the pandemic when he was punched several times. His attacker also arrested.
It is not acceptable for things like this to happen in our community.
Last Wednesday, a 76-year-old man punched in the face in Oakland. The man responsible arrested. And the next day, a man was arrested in San Francisco for attacking both an 83-year-old Asian man and a 75-year-old Asian woman at UN Plaza. Investigators are working to determine if racial bias was a motivating factor.
It's still kind of scary.
And still on the loose, this person who tossed a 69-year-old woman to the ground and robbed her in Daly City. Michelle Kingston, KRON 4 News.
And new tonight at 9, San Francisco bakery was hit here not once but twice in an early morning heist Sunday. The suspects were caught on surveillance video. This is at Pineapple King Bakery in the Sunset. KRON 4's Taylor Bisacki joins us live. She is there at the scene. Taylor, this is so horrible for the owner. What are they saying tonight?
Well, she was horrified watching it all back on surveillance video, and she quickly realized that the burglars didn't use the doors here, but instead you'll see that they broke out that window up there. It's now boarded up, and that's how they got in and out of the store. The owner believes that the separate set of suspects were all working together.
Broke the windows, the glasses, and climbed to the storefront, and there you go. You just jump in.
Owner of Pineapple King Bakery in San Francisco's Sunset District says her business was burglarized 2 separate times early Sunday morning, and it was all caught on camera. The first suspect climbed into the storefront after breaking the top window and is later seen handing over a box full of items to a second suspect before climbing back out. Less than 2 hours later, a suspect wearing different clothing returned and handed over a second bag of iPads and money to what looks to be the same maskless man seen in the first video.
Made me mad, frustrated, and violated. Just come into the store, and they just took whatever they want and just climb out.
Jennifer didn't want to show her face on camera out of fear of retaliation, but says it's important for her to share what's happening to small businesses and her community.
We felt like this is very unsafe. You know, even walking down the street, people can get pushed, people get punched in the face. And we felt like currently right now, Asians are being targeted. Makes us really frustrated, angry, mad.
Now, between the money and the iPad stolen, the owner says that the thieves made off with a couple $1,000s. Plus, of course, there's also that cost of fixing the window that the suspects used to get in and out of the storefront.
All right, Taylor Bisacki reporting live for us tonight. To the South Bay now, a new group of volunteers called Japantown Prepared are planning to patrol the streets in San Jose. Organizers say they're focusing on protecting the Asian American community in the city's Japantown area on Jackson Street from 3rd to 7th. Patrols will take place between mid-morning and mid-afternoon. Organizers also tell us that they've received hundreds of emails. The patrol program will be modeled after the United Peace Collaborative in San Francisco's Chinatown.
Is observe, record, and report. And that's what I'm asking our volunteers to do.
Organizers say volunteers have already received training over the weekend. Depending on interest, there may be another training session. If you'd like to get involved, we're posting information on our website at KRON4.com.
And on the peninsula, a zero-tolerance hate zone plan is in the works in San Mateo County. The idea was sparked in response to several crimes that have been committed against the Asian American community there.
Our KRON 4's Dan Thorne talked with members of the community about this idea. He joins us now live in Daly City tonight with more. Dan?
Well, Grant and Vicki, as we've been reporting, all of these crimes have been horrific, and this new proposal is aimed at taking a stand against these rising attacks. The Asian American community organizations here along the peninsula say that this is long overdue, and now is the time for their voices to be heard. This attack and robbery in Daly City is just one of many violent crimes committed against Bay Area Asian Americans over the past year. A new proposal in San Mateo County aims to deter this kind of hate.
Long overdue. They have to do something. They have to start respecting AAPI.
Faith Bautista is the CEO of the National Asian American Coalition, headquartered in Daly City. The nonprofit organization advocates for success for Asian Americans, a community Bautista says is often the invisible minority, but is now unfortunately being seen because of violence.
Asia needs recognition, well deserved. Why do we have to wait till people have to die? Why do we have to wait till they're beaten up to death?
Through a zero-tolerance hate zone, County Supervisor David Canepa would like to see perpetrators of racist attacks be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The latest census data shows more than 30% of San Mateo County's population is of Asian descent. In Daly City, that number nearly doubles. Speaking about the possible legislation, Canepa says we can no longer just sit back and listen to our Asian American friends and neighbors tell these continuing stories of being victims of violent racist hate crimes. No one should be afraid to leave their own home because of the color of their skin. Racism is the true virus.
Zero tolerance for hate should be everywhere.
Daly City Mayor Jocelyn Manalo is in support of Canepa's plan. The mayor is also setting up her city's own community watch along with grassroots partners called Saint Sentinel. The patrol will focus on protecting people within the community, especially the older population. Bautista is pleading with the community to let go of the hate.
Let's love one another. We deserve to be in this country. We deserve to be in Peninsula. Treat us well. We're your great neighbors.
Well, Supervisor Canepa is expected to be putting this proposal forward to the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors meeting at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And within this proposal, this zone would run from Daly City to Menlo Park. Reporting live in Daly City, Dan Thorne, KRON 4 News.
Thank you, Dan. On the national level, a group of House Democrats is trying to raise awareness about an upcoming social media day of action. It's intended to stop Asian hate. People will be posting using the Stop Asian Hate hashtag. The lawmakers held a briefing today to highlight this Friday's event.
We are asking everybody across this nation to take some kind of virtual action, a tweet, a post, an in-person event that's live streamed, or a virtual event using the hashtag Stop Asian Hate.
Everyone must do their part to put an end to these acts of hate. Call it out, prevent it, report it. We need every person to step up and stand against it.
The group also pushed for legislation that would assign a point person at the Department of Justice to expedite the review of COVID-related hate crimes. The bill would also support state and local law enforcement agencies to help them respond to these hate crimes.
Stay with KRON 4 for continuing coverage of the recent attacks in Georgia and the Bay Area. You can find more reaction from lawmakers and local leaders. Just head to our website at KRON4.com.
Switching gears now to our COVID coverage. People 50 and older can now get the vaccine in Contra Costa County regardless of whether they have an underlying health condition, if supplies allow. And that means more than 235,000 more people who live there are now eligible.
Officials in Contra Costa County honoring those who died in the last year to COVID-19.
KRON 4's Teresa Estacio was at the Regional Medical Center that dealt with many of the cases involving people who died from the disease.
We are here at the Contra Costa County Regional Medical Center, and you can see behind me they have darkened the building all to pay their respects for those people who've lost their lives or have been impacted by COVID-19. This regional facility has treated so many people with COVID-19, as well as, sadly, those people who have lost their lives. There is a very harsh reality to the numbers of people who have died in this county, and that is what this ceremony is all about, honoring those people that have died. Take a look at this. There have been 734 people that have died from SARS-CoV-2, and that's the virus, of course, that causes COVID-19. Of those 734, it's been mostly men that have died, and those numbers are, according to county records, in the age bracket from 60 to 90 years of age. In Contra Costa County, the race that has been primarily those who have died, white, non-Hispanic. Health officials, including the county's public health director, spoke about what this ceremony is all about and why it is so important.
We come together tonight to support those grieving parents, spouse, a friend, or a loved one. We want you to know that you're not alone.
We have suffered, and many of us have lost someone. And we know that communities of color have been hit the hardest.
The flag at the hospital was lowered to half staff, again, to honor those people that have been impacted by this virus, as well as those people who've lost their lives. The ceremony, referred to as Hope and Healing virtual event, there will be songs, music, and synchronized lighting of civic centers across the county. We've recorded it for you, and we'll have it up on KRON4.com so you can see it for yourself. Here in Martinez, Teresa Estacio, KRON4 News.
Another big story we're following tonight, the U.S. might soon have a fourth COVID-19 vaccine. AstraZeneca announced today that its vaccine is 79% effective. Investigators say the vaccine was effective across all age groups, including older people.
To learn more about this, we turn to our infectious disease expert, Dr. Peter Chin Hong of UCSF. Good to see you, Dr. Chin Hong, and thanks for being here. How soon could the AstraZeneca vaccine be a player in the U.S., and how much could it help?
It's said that they are preparing the paperwork now, but probably won't be approved until May or so. And, before AstraZeneca, we're going to be having enough vaccines for all Americans, adult Americans, by beginning of May. So it probably won't be a huge player in the U.S., but the fact that the U.S. data is looking so robust and promising, it will be a big sigh of relief for the rest of the world, where AstraZeneca is going to play a major role.
So, Doctor, my understanding is if the FDA isn't approving it just yet, we do have some stock of this vaccine. Are we going to be giving it to our neighbors to the north in Canada and to Mexico to help them out?
I hope so. I really hope so, Vicky. South Africa donated their stocks of AstraZeneca vaccine because it's not great against the South African variant to neighboring African countries where the variant hasn't really set up shop. So likewise, I hope that we can also donate to countries that don't have vaccines. We've pre-purchased like more than 1 billion doses of vaccines in Operation Warp Speed. In case one of the vaccines didn't work, but it seems that all of the vaccines are working. So you're right. I hope we can do the right thing and give it to the people who need it the most, because unless everybody's vaccinated, we can't really control the pandemic.
It seems like the U.S. needs to take a leadership role globally to, like you said, get everybody vaccinated. You look at what's happening in Europe right now. Germany just announced another lockdown. Obviously, Paris, a lot of Europe is in a bad way right now. And, here in the U.S., it feels like we're in good shape, like everything is trending in the right direction. I guess big picture, how worried are you about these variants and the prospect of new variants forming with all of the additional COVID that is surging in parts of the globe?
You're right, Grant. I'm very, very worried. time we leave COVID sort of out of control, we are going to have more and more variants. And right now we know about these variants like the B117, the California variant, UK variant, and what have you. But I'm really most concerned about the variants we don't know anything about yet. And time is everything for variants, right? So it is in our best interest to really make sure that everywhere else gets vaccinations.
So, Doctor, I'm sure you've heard or seen the video of the spring breakers in Miami Beach and wall-to-wall bodies. It seems the message is not really permeating some groups.
Exactly, and I think really the most dangerous thing right now is mobility. That's why the CDC kind of shied away from travel recommendations for vaccinated folks, because they're worried about what's happening right now. And this population hasn't been vaccinated yet. We all know that. And, you know, we already have parts of the country that are seeing an increase. And these are, you know, like the Midwest states like Michigan, Idaho even is seeing an uptick in cases. In fact, the Idaho legislature had to go in recess for 2 weeks because of 10% of their elected officials having COVID now. So I think, you know, we can only do so much. If people move from places where there is COVID to places where there's less COVID, the places are going to spread the COVID all around, including Europe.
If I'm gonna understand you correctly, at the top you said we're gonna have enough doses with Moderna, Pfizer, J&J, that the U.S. really won't be relying on AstraZeneca so much for Americans. But what about the stigma with AstraZeneca, with the blood clotting and how Europe has dealt with that? How do you overcome that?
I think it's going to be really, really hard, Grant. I mean, right now, political officials in Europe are publicly getting AstraZeneca vaccines to illustrate to the people that it's safe and they think it's going to be fine. Even officials in Asia, like Taiwan, in Taiwan, AstraZeneca is the only vaccine right now available. But, you know, it's going to take some time before people kind of move beyond that hesitancy around the blood clot and the platelet disorders and the bleeding, even though there's no real evidence to support that it's linked to AstraZeneca vaccines.
Well, Dr. Peter Chin Hong, we are out of time. We always learn so much when we talk to you, and hopefully you'll be available to us when new things come up, which is every day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when are we going to be over, Grant and Vicky?
Yeah.
Hey, I can't wait to get together in real life.
Yeah.
I know, let's do it.
Like everybody, right?
And hang out. No, we appreciate you, Dr. Chin Hong, and have a good night.
And same here.
Stay safe.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right, weather time. As we switch gears now, get a live look here at San Francisco's Embarcadero.
And KRON 4's Chief Meteorologist Lawrence Carno is going to join us now to talk about what we can expect for this work week.
Yeah, looking good this work week. Winds, that'll be the biggest concern, but we're going to see a whole lot of sunshine, no rain in the forecast. Just how warm it's going to be each day is what we're concerned about. But tonight, the winds have been kicking up. We saw some of those winds, especially along the coastline and over the mountaintops, been getting a little blustery outside. Some of those winds gusting over 40 miles per hour. Still, mostly clear skies, and overnight tonight, those winds are going to switch directions. We've got a dry cold front just kind of dropping through here. You see the clouds just kind of fading away. As our front moves on through, high pressure builds in behind it. That's when we get that offshore wind kicking in and things getting a little blustery around the Bay Area. You're seeing some of those winds right now. In fact, some of those winds gusting as high as 50 in Mill Valley. So certainly blustery at times throughout the afternoon today, and continues to be pretty windy out there now. In fact, a wind advisory has been issued for Solano County. Watching for sustained winds, probably 15 to 30 miles an hour, gusting to 30 and 40, maybe some isolated gusts even stronger than that. Models picking up on the winds overnight tonight. See, right now we're seeing that sea breeze, that onshore flow kicking in, but watch what happens as we roll you through time. All of a sudden those winds begin to switch directions, turning more toward a northerly direction. You see it right there as we get up tomorrow morning. Very gusty winds across Solano County. In fact, the model's trying to paint a 51-mile-an-hour gust in Vacaville. That is a heck of a gust if that happens. Still, around the Bay Area, you get the idea. You get those offshore offshore winds. So yeah, it's going to be blustery around the Bay Area, but the good news is down below many of the urban sections, not as windy, and because you get those offshore winds, should certainly have some very nice weather outside with these temperatures warming up in the 60s, near 70 degrees by the time we hit Wednesday. A little less wind, few clouds on the way on Thursday, and then as we get into Friday and the weekend, how about that? I think some of these temperatures, yeah, you're flirting with some mid 70s come Saturday and Sunday. So certainly a big change in the pattern coming our way. Spring officially being felt around the Bay Area.
And where's the rain?
No rain, maybe next week.
Spring hasn't sprung
keeping it
just
dry.
yet.
Maybe next week.
Yeah, maybe next week.
That'd be swell.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Lawrence.
Okay.
Still to come, a terrifying moment caught on camera at the San Diego Zoo. What are you doing, guy? This man took his 2-year-old daughter into the elephant enclosure, what he did to his baby, and the charges he's now facing.
And as coronavirus cases continue to drop, more businesses get to reopen. We go to the South Bay next.